Welcome back to Flo Factory. We got a special episode. We're the home of the legendary Florida football players or athletes in general. And we're back with a legendary mom, the mom of a legendary football player, Sam Bruce. We're kicking it with Miss Tracy. How you doing today, Miss Tracy?
Wonderful.
Thank you for pulling up and hanging out with us. We've been trying to make this happen for a little
I
minute
know.
now. We kind of all figured it out.
Yep.
And we're here kicking it in Miami. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm great. I have no complaints. God has been good.
God has been good.
Yes.
God is very good.
Yes.
Amon played with Sam Bruce, so there's some relationship there. She has Sam Bruce tatted on her arm, so you know there's a lot of chemistry there and friendship there.
A lot of
So
love.
this is a special episode for you and also for us. You know, Sam is one of those guys. I'm older than both of them, so I'm a fanatic of just football recruiting. And Sam Bruce was, like I was telling my guy T-Row behind the scenes, the best route runner I ever seen on a high school level. Just a very talented kid, one of the biggest, brightest smiles I've ever seen in like recruiting. He's just electric. People gravitate towards him, and energy gravitates towards him. So like this is a special episode for me as well. Thank you for pulling up and hanging out with us.
My pleasure.
So what was it like for like Sam as a kid? What was he like?
Sam was, from day one, Sam was special. Again, I talk about it in the book. I had the pleasure of being able to write a book about his life. We always hear about the athlete from the athlete standpoint.
Right.
You never hear about it from what the parent went through. So, really quick to give you a backstory on the book. When Sam was at university school, we got an email at about 4:30, the last day of Christmas, before the Christmas break, last day of class. Believe it or not, after the office closed, anyway. And the email said that as of January of the next year, they were no longer honoring scholarships, which meant basically all the inner city kids that were attending youth school had about 17 days to find somewhere else to go to school by January.
That's great.
It was an interior thing, and he was very upset. That was the happiest I ever saw Sam educationally, was when he was at youth school. And he came home heartbroken because youth school was a family. It was not a football team. It was a family. Roger Harriet was the father, and it was a family. And it took me about 2 hours to calm him down. And so once he calmed down, he went back across the house to his room, and I was laying across the bed. Always been faith-filled from day one. And God gave me the title of the book, The Journey, Anything But a Game. I knew it was a book. I knew it was about Sam's life, but that was all God gave me. That was it. And nothing. I put it on a zip drive, and nothing went on the zip drive for another 11 years. And about 3 months after Sam passed, God said, go back and get that zip drive. It's time to write the book. And I told God, not right now. I'm not doing nothing right now, but getting through what I'm going through. And so about a year later, I was sitting in a class, bored, a class I could have taught. I was only there because they paid us to go. And I'm a journaler. I always got a tablet. If you look at my purse now, I got a tablet. I'm a
I
writer.
journal too, so
When
I
I'm
connect with
bored,
you on that.
if I'm sitting and I got to wait, I'm writing.
Yeah.
And I was just sitting there
You
kind
ever
of
lose
like,
one of your journals though?
oh God, yes. And boohoo cry, all the good stuff in there.
I left one on the plane like 2 weeks ago. I was like,
Oh my God, my book.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
so I was sitting there, and I just pulled the tablet out, and God gave me all 16 titles, all 16 chapters while I was sitting there. And I came home that night. I wrote the preface. I called my best friend. I read it to her. I said, okay, God, now I'm ready to write the book. But backstory, Sam. In the book, I talk about pregnancy, simple. No problems, no nothing. Like Sam, the pregnancy with Sam, I had 2 other kids before then, little stuff up and down. But only way you know I was pregnant with Sam is you walked in front of me. I worked until 2 days before I had Sam. And at that time, I was running a nail salon. So back to school, I went to work. It was too much money out there. I'm going to get this back to school money. And my brother finally ran me home that day, was like, do not come back here after you have that baby, because I ran the shop with my brothers. But the day that Sam was born, we called Sam the baby of the double. And the reason we call him that, he was special from the beginning. My sister fasted just water 11 days, and she broke it the night I had Sam. When I had Sam, call the family, they call and hey, Tracy had the baby, Tracy had the baby. Earlier that morning, when I went to the doctor, usually Sam's dad went with me. This particular day, he was busy at work, so my mom went. I called him, I said, hey, Dr. Sam in labor, let's go. Get home so we can go to the hospital. He was working for a paint company. He went in the office, and he went in on the floor to pick up some paint. $100 bill laying on the floor. So he takes it, give it to the guy at the counter. He said, hey, somebody dropped this $100 bill. So they did an all call. Nobody in the store said nothing. He said, well, you having a baby today. You're going to need it. Take it. So Sam kept it. That afternoon, I had the baby. One of my brothers came from work, brought this little tiny dolphin football. So the nurse thought it was cute. She said, I'm going to sanitize and put it in his incubator. Sam wasn't 2 hours old. My other brother came from somewhere else in Fort Lauderdale, had no conversation with my other brother, brought the same Miami Dolphin football. So now that's 11 days, double one, 2 footballs. Sam, dad, after I had Sam, went out to go get me something to eat. We're in the maternity ward, so there's people up and down the hallway. Right. He walked back in the room. He said, Trey, you won't believe this. I said, what? He said, I just found another $100 bill. So you're talking about $200 bills, 2 footballs, 11 days fasting. And Sam life depicted that from that day until April 28th at 10:10 when Sam got out the back door. He's always been special. Full of energy, exciting, entertaining, just Sam being Sam. So what you all saw was not new. That was a combination of many years of getting to that stage. But as a child, very friendly, big heart. A lot of people didn't know Sam had a huge heart, especially for the homeless. And we had a Walgreens that we would go to all the time, 2-3 times a week. And when we walk in, the homeless kind of stood outside the front, kind of like they do now. By the time we got back to that door to go out, Sam, in some kind of way, got $5 from you to give to somebody that he looked at coming in the store. And I said, Sam, why $5? Why you can't give him $1? A Burger King was directly across the street. They can't buy a full meal with no dollar more. They need to buy a burger. They need to buy, like he had it all figured out in his head. So Sam was a special child, very special.
I think Sam being special is a tribute to you. I saw an interview you did on Be True
to You
talk show. And one of the things I thought was cool when you was like, your house was always a lit house. Everybody would go to your house because y'all had the party, y'all had the music, the vibes.
I go to sleep and there's 3 kids in my house. I wake up, it's 15. Where did all these kids come from? And why did mama didn't check with me over the I'm like, yeah, it was. But it was fun. It was the kids.
So Juneteenth coming up, what would be, I guess, a song or back then that you guys would play would kind of just get the vibes and the party going? You would think
oh my God,
piss everybody off.
Okay, say it again. Ask me the question because I want to make sure I answer it right.
Oh, the song that kind of made them call the police on y'all and shut it down. Oh, it was just
had to be one of my favorites, and I had no business letting the kids listen to it. And I'm saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. I believe in God, but I'm eclectic when it comes to music. And it depends on what kind of day I'm having. My favorite was a boy from right here in Miami. My favorite album was JT Money. On wax. Right. Whole problems ain't no problem. Yeah, I let the kids listen to whatever. But the thing is, who baby? And then I had what they call a party house. So my living room was literally 2,000 square feet. So can you imagine that music banging off those walls? Man, please, I let them kids have a ball. But the parents knew they were safe. And they knew wasn't no foolishness going on in my house. So that's why they let them come.
That's a real soft love household with JT Money.
Oh, yeah. That was my boy. When we put that on, it was over. Yeah. We used to have a ball. Man, please. Yes. 100%. But yeah, that would make people call the police across the street. Yeah. So the man next door would call and say, turn the music down a little bit, Tracy. We hear you. But that crazy man across the street called the police on us. But yeah.
Now you're an entrepreneur. You have several businesses. Yes. You know, baby, you say you're the baby of 6, right?
Baby of 6.
So I guess that's where you get your fight from in a lot of ways.
I was the baby of 6 by a long shot. Okay. My mama would it's amazing that I even have any self-worth. My mama would introduce me to people in the grocery store as her oops baby. Like, Mildred, that's your listen, Mildred, that's your grandbaby. This is my oops baby. She was 43 when she had me. My first 3 brothers and sisters were grown and gone when I was born. My oldest brother was 20 years older than me. So it was 20, 17, 14, 11, 7, and then me. So I didn't have to fight for nothing. I was a spoiled brat. I'm just giving it to you real. I was spoiled. My sister said I was pampered because I shared. She said spoiled brats take everything for them. Okay. But I shared. If somebody gave me $10, I'm going to give my friend 5. So be good. But yeah, I enjoyed life. I had 2 cars at 16. I was spoiled. Yeah. But everybody was grown. So I just kept going down the list, and somebody said yes. Eventually, somebody's gonna tell me yeah.
Here's the thing. This is why this is fire, right? Because I got a younger sister. So like most of the time, like the youngest kid think they got it the worst when they really got it the best. So your awareness is definitely on point.
Oh no, I had it the best. I
Yeah,
had
yeah,
it the
100%.
best. Oh yeah.
Last kid normally gets it the best,
Yeah,
man.
yeah.
Like, for
Because
sure.
parents are stable.
Yeah.
You know, they're farther along in their
They made all their
career.
mistakes and
They
stuff.
made all the mistakes. You know, it's like the commercial. You see the commercial with the lady with the two babies. That first one, they so careful with it.
Yeah, yeah.
That second one, she throw them in the shower with the baby. She don't care.
Yeah.
I lived a very good life. I actually lived a phenomenal life. Very close-knit family. Very loving. If there was such thing as a Huxtable family, we were it. We just didn't have the dad. My dad passed when I was 2. Okay. But as far as siblings and our closeness and our togetherness, it was great.
You had quoted, you said, if I go and work for you, I'm there to learn something from you.
Right.
I'm not there to work for you. I'm there just to learn from you and take it and go and build my own.
Yeah.
Build my own. Where do you get that hustle from?
My family. My first oldest sister was into, she was an accountant, bookkeeper. So she worked for someone. And then I have a sister that's been with the school board for like 35 years. The rest of us were entrepreneurs. I got it from my brothers. They had a men and boys clothing store when I was 11 years old. I ran the front end. They should show me one time how to use the register. Okay, I got it. Go on. Y'all work the floor. I got this. And we were very successful, you know, in one of a mall in Fort Lauderdale. So yeah, I get it from them. I've been a hustler my whole life. I mean, even in elementary school, because, you know, we always had the good candy in our neighborhood. And I went to a predominantly white school. So I would take the $3 my mama gave me, go to the storehouse late in the morning, fill up my book bag, and the first day I came home with 4 or 5 times the amount of money, Doc, this works for me. This is what I'm gonna do. So that's where I get it from. My family, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. Yeah, we hustlers. Legally.
It's a little different, I guess, like being friends. I mean, obviously you're Sam's mom, so you've seen him throughout his entire life. Like, and I feel like when you're friends with people, I don't ask, like, I'm not gonna sit here in AR's face and be like, hey, so what was your childhood like? What's your first memory of playing football? But like being able to ask somebody else's mom that, I guess, is different. I mean, I didn't become friends with Sam until he was already at STA. So like skipped over all the U school stuff. And then obviously when we were at Miami together, we were super close. But when did Sam start playing football? Like, who got him into it? Like, did you push him to do that? Did other people in the family push him to do that? Like,
no, Sam showed glimmers of athleticism, believe it or not, at about 1.5 years. And I talk about it in the book. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, about 1.5 years. I said, gee.
That's impressive.
But,
Yeah.
and I talk about it in the book. My godbrother, now my best friend, who you'll see a lot of in the book, I call him Brubby. We were standing in the living room of my mom's house talking. And Sam was still wearing a pamper. I mean, he was just walking good. And he did a handstand and rested his feet on the wall. 1.5 years. And my godbrother looked at me, he said, we got us one. I was like, yeah, but to me, it was so typical because he had been doing it. When he was 10 months old, his dad showed me a trick and I was about to kill him. In his mom's backyard had a clothesline. And he put Sam's hands there and Sam was about 10 months old. And he took his hands off and Sam just sat there swinging. When he was 1.5 years, he was swimming the width of the pool. Like he was athletic. We saw glimmers of athleticism in Sam when he was about 1.5 years, honestly. And then as far as football, my sister, she was like, you know, he said he wanted to play football, so we took him. The first place he played was Carter Park. He played for Western Tigers at about 6.5 years old. And he just went from there. But I mean, that's what started it. And then he matriculated through the system. He went from Western to Lakes and just, you know, and every time I'm like, this boy is getting really good at this, you know, because I'm a football fanatic. Let's back up. I don't know if you saw his Caneville interview with Daryl, but he said, oh, my mom's a football guru. I've been watching football intensely since 11. Like I said, I had those 2 grown brothers in the house with me. You either learn to watch football on Saturday or Sunday, you play outside. I ain't like the heat then. So I was like, let me learn this football game thing here. But we were a football family. Like literally there was a TV in the bathroom. You didn't miss a down of football on Saturday and Sunday. So I actually started watching UM. Michael Irvin and those were there at that time. So it was Michael Irvin, Benny and Brian Blades, Alonzo Highsmith, Ed Reed. I started watching them then. So I've been watching football my whole life. So the fact that Sam played it at a high level, was just wonderful for me as a parent.
Yeah.
So what was the relationship like as he got better and better?
I
And
wanted
as
to
you
kill
as a there we go. As a football
I wanted to kill
junkie,
Oh, you
like,
mean as football junkie?
as a football junkie,
Oh,
did
I
it
loved
become
it.
more like critiquing? Like I know some parents are like very like
No,
critiquing, or would you just enjoy him?
absolutely not.
Okay.
Because I felt like he put in the hard work.
Mhm.
Who am I to sit here and be a couch mom? That's what I call couch coaches, these
Yeah.
dads that want to live vicariously through their children.
Mm.
No, I let him do his thing. Every once in a while, I'd be like, Pop, why you ran a jet sweep like that? He'd be like, Mom, don't start. I'm like, okay, don't stop. I'm sorry. But no, I didn't bother him.
Yeah.
I let him be him, and I loved every minute of it, good, bad, and ugly. And he would tell me, and I'm like, Sam, you're lying. At St. Thomas games, you got 3,000-4,000 people. If he say, Mom, I hear you saying, run, Poppy, run. How did you hear me over all these people? That's the kind of parent I was. I mean, and he says a lot in the interviews. He talk about the fact that, we pushed him so hard. I didn't push him, I supported him.
Mm.
And if he'd have turned around to me and said, I don't play football no more. Okay, well, what else? Whatever we're doing it on 10, because that's the only way I know how to do
Let's
things.
go. Let's go.
So
Same
that was
thing
the
I tell my
support. That was the
son.
support I had.
Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it.
If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it.
Right.
And a lot of people don't know. At about 9, when we had Hurricane Wilma, the parks closed abruptly, and he was playing football, and he was driving us crazy with all that energy. I'm like, oh my God. My sister again say, well, I'm gonna put him in gymnastics because that was a year off of the 2008 Olympics, and he'd gone in the front yard. One thing about Sam, he gonna teach himself whatever he want to know. He gonna watch. He like me. He gonna watch you do it one time, and he got it. And so I said, well, yeah, let's try gymnastics. He flip a lot in the yard. So she took him in. And the first day he went, the girl was like, where did he train?
Wow.
And my sister was like, huh? Where did he train before he came here? In my mama's front yard? She said, no. What gym did he train at? She said, in my mama's front yard. Everything that you see, he taught himself. So he trained for about maybe 4 or 5 months, and they had this regional championship down in Hialeah. We drove forever. I was like, are we going to get there, Papa Smurf? And when we walked in, you know how they had a podium set up, first place, second place, third place. And he walked in, he's always been arrogant. He is mama's child. It is what it is. And he said, when this is over, I'm going to stand right here. And he stood up on that first place platform. These kids have been doing gymnastics since they could walk.
Wow.
2.5 hours later, when it was over,
Hmm.
Sam stood on #1 platform. And for about 1.5 years, I got called from a guy that lived in Texas that wanted us to move to Texas to train Sam. And I told him, absolutely not. We're not doing that. But that just tells you, and I tell everybody, and people don't believe me, if you saw him play it, you say yes. Sam was a better basketball player than he was football player. Sam was dunking at 11 on the regulation drill, the regulation drill.
He twitched up though.
Yeah.
He's a strong kid.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, he was dunking at 11. He'd go to the park and play football with grown men, and they'd be fighting over him. So they knew. There goes Shorty. And I go down there and watch him every once in a while. I'm like, what are you doing down there? Oh, I'm just playing ball, Ma. And I mean, he crossing over. He just was a special kid from the word go. And I know he mine, and it sounds like I'm bragging, but it ain't bragging
you're
when
not
it's true.
lying. Oh, that's why we here.
It ain't bragging
That's
when
why-
it's true.
That's why we
Yeah.
all here.
No,
Yeah.
Sam is an incredibly special person. Like, I don't know. I tell everybody all the time, like, regardless of the fact that Sam and I were close friends, like, I would not be who I am or in sports or working in my field in football if it wasn't for Sam. Because I remember when he and Miami departed each other. Like, Sam, I had an offer to work for the Miami athletic department, and I was like, no, because like I don't feel like they did you right. Like, I don't feel like how they handled your situation was valid. So I'm not gonna go work with that because I don't even know how to sit in an office with people every day, like knowing that they did. One of my best friends, like, I don't feel like they handled it correctly. And he was like, nah, Drea, like, you have to go. Like, you have to go work with them. Like, you have to do this. Like, you bring like a different energy to sports that like I haven't seen before, and like you could be our voice and advocate for us. Like, you need to go do that. And like, if Sam didn't tell me that, I would have never worked for Miami football. I would have never like switched my major, went into sports. Like, I wouldn't be an agent right now. Like, I would have never did any of that. So you saying that Sam is special, like, and you're like, oh, I'm his mom, so I don't know. Like, he was special to everybody, like, for sure.
Yeah, no, that's right. As someone that I never met him until obviously I got to UN, but like my little brother will tell you, we used to watch, it was him, Jordan Scarlett that just left, Sam Bruce. We used to be watching like the Under the Radar Spotlight. And we used to laugh because he had a deep voice. He'd be like, My name is Sam Bruce.
Sound like Michael
St.
Irvin.
Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, there
Hit my
it is.
underwear spotlight.
Yep.
And we be watching this how like he cutting crazy, and then it's like, but you watch someone from afar that's so good, and then you always have like, it's like, is he a nice dude? Is he cool? Like, is he, you know, like how is he in person? Then when I met him when we first got to UM, and like he's like, what up, Ahmad? Like he never called me Ahmad. Like he never said my name right. He always he called me
Gonna
Ahmad.
shorten everybody's name.
He called me Ahmad every time. What up, Ahmad? And then, but ever since that moment, meeting him in the locker room, just like the energy that he gives off, like he makes you want to be great. Like it's like an expectation that he came in with that you knew like you got to be on your game, because that is one of those guys that will take your spot. He will see the field because he's one of those players you can't not have on the field. You know what I mean? So from that moment, like to your point, like he was special. Like you can feel it. Anyone you walk in the room, you can energy, the name. It was like everything just lined up kind of to your point. All the number, everything matched up to like a superstar.
Right.
Is what you think of.
Well, you know, like I said, my foundation, of course, and of course with Sam, is the Bible. And Sam depicts what the Bible says. The Bible says that we're the salt in the earth. Anything you put salt in, it changes the taste of it. If you put salt in sugar, it's going to change the taste of it. So I taught my kids that early in life. Listen, you're the salt of the earth. You're the thermostat, not the thermometer. You set the temperature. You don't take it. So that is how I reared my kids. And he wasn't lying when he said, I used to ask him every day, 4-5 times a day, to get on his nerve. What's your name? My name is Sam Bruce. No, sir. You look somebody in the eye, you say your name is Sam Bruce. When you walk in a room, you change the whole atmosphere. So the things that you saw, these are things that my children were taught at a young age. I mean, from the word go. Sam was 5 years old, and I talk about that also in the book, when he received the baptism of the Holy Spirit by himself with no leading. It was one afternoon. I was attending a women's conference that's really big in Fort Lauderdale, and I was getting ready to go. I had my back to the door, and I was pressing my clothes. And I heard him walk in the room, but my kids knew, you know, certain things going on. They hear certain music. They know I'm in my zone, me and God talking. You respect that. And he walked in the room, and I was pressing my clothes. And as I was pressing I heard him come in. I didn't even look back. And about maybe 2 minutes later, I felt the atmosphere shift in the room. And I'm like, okay, something going on in here. And I turned around, and Sam was on both of his knees with his hands up, speaking in tongues. I was listening to a worship CD. So I guess that must have ushered him in. Sam was just a different kind of kid. Like he just did things that I never expected. I had 2 daughters before Sam. So my life was real simple and laid back. And then here come this boy. And just what I mean, literally, it was like my words made Sam. What I prayed for was what God gave me in Sam. And a lot of people don't know that spiritual side of Sam because I laugh about it. He loved to put on this facade like he from the hood and this, that, and the other. Boy, you went to Christian private school your whole darn life. What the heck? You no thug. Like, dude, come on. You got to create this persona. But Sam went to Christian private school his whole life. I mean, outside
like
of 2 years.
Hood, though. I'm gonna be real.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
He played
the way
like
he
the hood.
exaggerating them cuss and stuff, like, I thought he was from the hood till you just told me that.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well,
It was the
initially,
JT money.
I mean,
JT
yeah, listening to JT on wax.
You made it feel like the hood. a little
Yeah,
bit.
but no, literally we grew up in a middle class neighborhood. You know, nothing crazy. My mom did, which is where he spent a lot of his time. And, you know, once I got to that house, Sam was probably about 6th or 7th grade. I've always been an entrepreneur again. So I owned a nail salon, I owned daycare. So this first daycare I owned was very successful. So that's how we ended up in the house. But I mean, we lived in $1 million home. I drove a $70,000 car.
Hustling.
Them kids had everything they wanted, and he played it down. And I used to get angry with him because I'm like, Sam, when you do these interviews, you make it sound like you grew up so tough. But I'm going to tell you something my daughter said that made it make sense to me. She said, Ma, you have to understand, through Sam high school years, yeah, we lived in $1 million home, but his friends lived in a $10 million home. Yes, you drove a $70,000 car, but their parents driving a $300,000 car. So in his mind, he thinking, we are struggling. He don't know if he turned around and looked back, we are winning. But to him, it looked like he was living such a different life from them. His mom just got up and went to work every day and made it happen. And when it came to my kids, there was no stopping. Like I got 2 college graduates, my girls. My oldest one's an engineer, graduated from FAMU. She is actually, I think she's the only black female chief engineer in this area for Kiewit. She's in Orlando. She's a superintendent. And then my baby girl's a teacher. She just went back to school to get her master's degree. So we're about education. But along with education, have a little street smart, and then have a little business savvy. And that's a recipe for success.
So he had to be balling in Pop Warner leagues for youth school to come recruit him to come to youth school. So what was that like for you when they started approaching you about coming to private school? Was there other private schools?
Yeah. We really saw him separate from the pack at 6th grade. He, like I said, he did the first year at Weston. He did a couple of years at Lauderdale Lakes where they won a couple of championships. He was actually on the team at Lauderdale Lakes when he and Brian Burns played together for the first time.
Okay.
Brian Burns' dad and I went to high school together. So Brian family and us have been friends when Angie was pregnant with Brian and I was pregnant with Sam. So they've come up together. And then when he went to Plantation, when we moved to Plantation, I said, Sam, I'm not riding all the way to Lakes every day in that 5 o'clock traffic and come back and get you at 8. It's a trolley go right by this house that'll take you to PAL. You're going to get on that trolley and go to practice. And his 6th grade year at PAL, he broke the park record with 28 touchdowns. I knew then that this thing is really gaining speed. After he did so well, we have a rule in my house. My kids can't play sports. D, F, U in conduct, and too many phone calls from a teacher. I don't give a good goddamn how good you play. You're not playing. I had a daughter, the one that's the engineer, 3.5, but she had a D in math. Get her, let her uniform and come on home. The coach called me 3 times, but she got a 3.5. Lady, don't call me no more. She broke the contract. She got a D. Now, she didn't end up with a D at the end of the semester, but she had it along the way. So she got to give it up. So after Sam broke the park record at PAL in the 6th grade, he went on what I call the mommy suspension because that joker brought me a D. So you're not playing football next year. So all summer, he thinking, oh, she going to change her mind. She going to let me play. So the first day of practice, he walking around the house in his cleats, and I hear him going through the house, clickety, clickety, clack, and I'm sitting in the room cracking up because I'm knowing he ain't going to play no football. Mom, it's 5:30. I need to get to practice. What kind of practice? Football practice. I said, no, we talked about this. Mom, you're not going to let me play football? Go get that report card and look at that D you got at the end of the last 9 weeks. You're not playing. At every home game, I took him down to Plantation Park, gave him $10 to watch your friends play football. Don't play with me. Not about education. So he didn't play that year for Optimus League, but he played in school. Those are the only 2 years he went to public school. He went to Parkway Middle only because my sister taught there, and they would let me in the back gate when he acted fool. And I knew where the cameras were not. That's the only reason he went there. So that year was his real breakout year because he had all that energy bottled up. He didn't play football. So he ran track, he played basketball, and he played flag football. So flag football, is at the end of the school year. So now he's getting ready to go into 8th grade, and I'm going to let him go back to Optimus League because the grades were good this year. So now you can go back and play football. And we were sought out pretty much by every Optimus League team that there was. And I had decided, they're not going to be happy, but I'm going to say it, that he was going to go play for the Hurricanes. We had done our homework. Hurricanes looked like the team he was going to in 8th grade. And we were at a flag football game. And Sam's so passionate about the game. Ref made a bad call. He spiked the ball. He got a penalty. And I won't say who it was, but the coach from that team was there. And he said, oh, Mama, you ain't got to worry about that. If he do that on my team, I stand up in his chest. He won't be playing for you. Don't worry about it. So we were back on the hunt again. And so we ended up at Lakes. We ended up at Lauderhill. Through a conversation again with my godbrother, with Brubby. I'm like, we got to find somewhere to put this boy. All of them calling. What we going to do so I can stop my phone from ringing? And when he started telling me who the coaches were, well, first a friend of mine, Coach Derek, came to the house who actually coached with Lauderhill. And he said, man, Lauderhill the place for Sam, da-da-da. And we're just having a conversation. And then I called my godbrother. I'm like, Brubby, what you know about Lauderhill? And then when he told me who the commissioner was, which was Sam Goodman, which was somebody I was in band with at Dilla High School, I was like, oh, it's done. And then Sean Stubbs, and I'm like, man, I know all these guys. Go on out there with them. But those boys have been playing together for about 6 years. What people don't know about that 125-pound team, that's why they were so good. And what happened was, I'm asking T.Y., which was the head coach, like, these boys been playing together. How you going to introduce somebody new? He said, don't worry, I got a player. And he was phenomenal how he introduced him. It was ingenious. He had Sam play flag football with him. So they got to see what Sam was really all about. And they just went from flag football right on into the Optimus League season, and they did well. They lost in the championship to Scott Lakes, but I mean, great. So now it's time for high school, and I'm overwhelmed. It's so many phone calls. I mean, I even had a call from a team in Palm Beach. They had figured out how to get him to school and home every day on the tri-rail.
Oh, nice.
I am not putting I'm flattered.
What
I'm
school in
flattered.
Palm Beach? I'm from Palm Beach.
What's the name of the school? Archbishop. What is it?
Oxbridge.
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 Oh, nah.
They had figured out how to
Okay,
get him
yeah.
home. Get him.
They got Travis
And I'm
Homer
like,
and all them that
Travis
year.
Homer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
met Travis. We met
Yeah.
Travis at UM.
Yep.
And I'm like, are y'all crazy? I'm not putting my 14-year-old on no tri-rail every day to come to practice, come to school. But I mean, I think that phone call was the call that let me know this boy is, he's creme de la creme. And so we went through the process, going through the summer, kind of trying to figure out like, okay, Pop, we got it. Well, actually, let me back up. It was actually spring. So it was like maybe January, February, right after football season had ended. What I didn't say was Sam fumbled the ball crossing the goal line in the championship and lost the game. He stayed home for 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't come out his room. I don't know if the boy went to the bathroom. He didn't come out the room for 2 days, but he was that passionate about football, even as an 8th grader. And I told him, I said, Sam, you have to understand, this is par for the course when you're the man. When you win, everybody love you. When you don't win, not so much. So you might as well get used to this. If this is what you want, this is what you got to deal with. So after the 2 days, he kind of pulled himself together, and then we had to go straight to the Youth Army All-American game in Texas, which we were out there for 5 days. He was brought in, of course, as a receiver, but at that time, Sam wasn't coming off the field. He was playing punt return, kickoff, receiver, and corner. So they invited him out as a receiver. We went to Texas. When we got there, they had some defensive guys that didn't show up. So the coach said, hey, I heard you play both sides of the ball. You want to play defense for me? So I'm like, listen, I just want to play. I don't care. And he ended up playing defense and won Defensive Player of the Game. East Bay All-American, Youth All-American. So came off of that. Now he's back to training, kind of getting ready. He had met Jordan and Boyce the one semester he went to Plantation Middle School. So he already kind of had a relationship with them just from being there for about 5 or 6 months.
That's funny that you say about playing both sides of the ball too, because in Jordan's interview, like he literally just said that. He was like, Sam and Boyce were probably the only 2 people that play both sides.
Yeah, Sam played both sides.
Mm-hmm.
And so actually he kicked a 37-yard field goal to send his Optimus League team to the championship.
Oh, you kicking field goals too?
37, it was the ugliest thing I ever seen. It went through, it went through the uprights this way. It was ugly. But
Hey,
if you Google,
37 is a far ways
but
if you ever tried
listen,
a field
if
goal
you
before.
Google, that was Lauderhill Lions 125 against Deerfield Packer Rattlers. You'll see that game. Not the first one they played, because they played initially during the regular season. Then they played again leading to the championship. He kicked a 37-yard field goal with like 12 minutes on the clock
Yeah, that's pretty impressive.
to win the
You
game.
kids got it so good that y'all can go watch y'all Pop Warner games
Yeah.
on YouTube.
Yeah, isn't that great?
I wish I could see my Pop Warner games on
Yeah,
YouTube.
it is interesting.
Y'all
So
spoiled this shit, man.
he,
Sorry, excuse my
no,
language.
no, you could listen, honey. You could.
Okay.
Say JT Money. What you talking about? Excuse
Oh,
your
my
language,
bad.
baby. I'm saved and sanctified, but baby, I grew up in the hood for real, for real.
You just told them, like,
Yeah.
first of all, when a black parent tell you, I know where the camera's at, that's
They get
cold
busy.
for
Yeah.
Yeah, they get busy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know where the cameras
Yeah,
were.
they get busy.
No, don't stand in that corner. Come over here in the library, because ain't no cameras over here. Knock his head off. Stay with me. But yeah. So that's right after he came back from the East Bay All-American game. We really had to get serious about where you're going to go for high school, because again, education is my thing. And he met Sly Johnson. And Sly, he went out to Sly one morning, cold, beautiful January morning in South Florida. And I had a chance to finally meet Coach Harriet, because I had heard about, little things about youth school, but they were just on the rise then, so it wasn't really big. Sam loved St. Thomas since he was 8 years old. Isaac Bruce's younger brother, Joseph, played for St. Thomas. And so, Sam was about 7 or 8 then, so when he watched Uncle Joe play for St. Thomas, that's it. He was a Raider in his heart from that day. So we went, and I had a chance to meet Coach Harriet, and I say, hey, just want to introduce myself. I'm Sam Bruce's mom. He said, Sam Bruce, the one with the blue gloves on? He could say, hands. And I said, hands? He said, man, the one with the blue gloves on, right? I said, yep, that's my son. He said, that kid ain't dropped the ball since I've been watching him. So he nicknamed Sam Hands. So we kind of looked at other schools, St. Thomas, American Heritage, so on and so forth. Then Coach Beard came to us about Sam playing 7-on-7 as an incoming freshman, which nobody had ever done in 7-on-7. So he was like, Mom, let me play. It'll give me a chance. Da, da, da. I said, okay, go ahead and play. So I signed the papers, he played. And at that time, Coach Beard was still at U School. So between meeting Coach Harriet and Coach Beard, and the thing that was most impressionable about me as a parent with Coach Beard, He's the only coach that talked to me about Sam as a man. He never talked to me about football. He said, we don't even talk about football. We know that Sam is good, but I'm talking about developing him as a young man. And I was done. So one day we were leaving youth school. He was training out there with Sly every Saturday. And I said, so what do you think about youth school, Sam? He said, Ma, it's amazing you said that because, Jordan, boys, I know some of the boys from middle school, and I kind of like the feel out here. So I think that's where I want to go. So youth school it was. The recruiting process was over, and university school, here we come. And had to be the best single decision I made as far as Sam's life, period. Because, again, youth school with Coach Harriet was a family. It wasn't a school. It wasn't a football team. It was a family. Sam's English class had like 9 kids in it. Mm. When you walk in a class, and I said, well, a lot of y'all kids missing today. Every week, this joker left something home that had me at that school. Cleats, a book, something.
Sounds about a boy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they were so wonderful. They were so warm. They were so loving. And these kids were wealthy, not rich. They were on a whole nother level. Wow. I mean, I didn't even know what a youth school was until Sam went there. But it was great. It was a great educational opportunity for him. And Coach Harriet and Coach Beard really kept their word as far as developing him as a young man the year and a half he was there. And then the shift happened where we had to find another school. The final 2 was, of course, St. Thomas and Heritage. And during the Christmas break, Dr. Laurie met us at Heritage. We looked at the school, loved it because Sam wanted to go into broadcasting. They have a school of broadcasting there that's taught by people down at Channel 7, so you're being taught by the best. And I don't know, Sam got a phone call Christmas Day from Rocco. And when he came out the room, he was going to St. Thomas. But initially, Heritage was where he was supposed to go. And I don't know what that conversation was about, but whatever it was about, it caught his attention. And I have to say, honestly, as candid as I can be, against my better judgment, I let him go to St. Thomas. I've never been a St. Thomas fan. I just don't like how they handle their kids. I'm sorry. I'm going on the record for saying it. If you're a sophomore or junior, you get in trouble, they're going to take care of it. You're going to come back to school, all is well. Sam proved it. Had Sam been a junior when he got in that little trouble he got in, St. Thomas wouldn't have had no problem with that. He already won y'all 2 state championships. He's a senior. He gone. We don't care. And I just have a very bad taste in my mouth about the whole situation and how they handled it. But I'm going to say Sam started it because he made a not smart decision.
Yeah. Jordan kind of alluded to, the U and, how it was a home environment and the atmosphere, and he had to make that decision. And I also heard you say in a previous interview where you don't like the politics of Florida high school football and what it's doing to the inner city schools.
Can't stand it. Can't stand it.
Can you speak to that, I guess, from a parent perspective?
Again, it is very political. It's not what you know, it's who you know now. Mm-hmm. Fortunate for me and Sam, because he was so talented, Sam could have gone wherever he wanted to go and do whatever he wanted to do. But I think a lot of our inner city schools have gotten a bad rep. I'm from Dillard. I'm a Dillard High alumni, class of '88. And
bring back the Soul Bowl.
Bring the Soul Bowl back, for real. Make that phone call.
Y'all know nothing about that, man. I used to go down there just to hang out.
Just to hang out at the Soul Bowl? Yeah, that was the game of games.
Yes, yes.
And I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm almost ashamed to say it, but I'm going to be very transparent. Dillard didn't even get a second thought where Sam was concerned. Didn't even think about sending Sam to Dillard. My alma mater. Love him dearly. Am very active. But I never thought about sending Sam because my thing was, I was thinking more about educational, and that's when Dillard was making that turn, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I was like, I can't do that. Can't put him in that kind of situation. But St. Thomas is a powerhouse. They've always been. We know that. I mean, ever since I was younger, St. Thomas was always the team. But I don't like a lot of the politics that go on at St. Thomas. I don't like how, and I can only speak for Sam, because Sam was in my house, how when he went, he was looked at more like an athlete than he was an athletic student instead of a student athlete. And I just watched a lot of stuff, front office stuff that I saw I didn't like. And Sam would not have gone to St. Thomas, and this is the first time I'm gonna flat out say this. I think I talked about it, alluded a little to the other interview. The deciding factor between St. Thomas and American Heritage was again, Sam was the first child to ever play 7-on-7 as an incoming freshman. So had he played out for 4 years, he'd have been the first one to do it. And it was word on the street that St. Thomas didn't allow their boys to play 7-on-7. So I went and I sat down and I talked to Coach Smith. And I said, listen, this is where we are. If Sam can play 7-on-7, he's between the two. You guys are even. I love both schools. You know, Sam loved both schools, not me, because I told you I wasn't a St. Thomas fan. And I just gave it to him real. I don't care how he felt. And, oh, no problem. He can play. Sam was there for 4 days, and I got a phone call from Brett, who runs South Florida Express, and said, hey, Tracy, I just got a call from Rocco. Sam's not going to be able to play 7-on-7. Says who? He said, well, I just got a call. Rocco said he can't play. So I already wasn't crazy about St. Thomas, but then when you flat out lie to me in my face, not Houston, we got a problem. Because Sam could have gone to Heritage, and I truly believe his matriculation through school would have been totally different. And I'm just being honest. And I got receipts and invoices. Yeah.
How do you feel now that Florida passed the law saying that we can do NIL at the high school level like 2-3 days ago?
So someone asked me when this thing first started rising about 3 or 4 months ago, boy, if NIL was in effect when Sam was, I'd have had to kill him. I cut him off. I'd have had to kill him. He was broke and he was a mess. Could you imagine if he had 300,000-400,000? I'd have had to kill Sam. Let's keep it real. I'd have had to kill him.
He had that bad.
What?
From a lot of from personality, smile.
I cut him off.
Good,
I ain't let him
he
finish.
got
I
that
said,
bad.
I'd have had to kill him. Could you imagine Sam was arrogant and out of control, broke. With his, all he had was his mama bag. Could you imagine if he had his own bag? I'd have had to kill that boy. I promise you I would have. But I mean, I think it's good. They need to cap it. They need to control it a little bit because it's gotten way out of hand a little. So I think they should do it like the league. Listen, each team get this amount of money, and that's it. That's all. Y'all figure out how to divvy it out. Give them a cap. And this is all they can get because I think it's crazy with the money that these kids are getting. But they earned it. They busting their behind. I used to go in Sam's room and slide the computer from under him. He'd go to sleep watching football. Wow. And he know he's supposed to be asleep at 10 o'clock. I walk across the house, he think because he got the cover over his head, I don't see him. Yeah. Boy, I see the light from that computer. Give me that darn computer, take your butt to bed. Yeah. But he was a football fanatic. He ate, slept, and breathed football.
We wanted to jump into his latter high school years, the state championship run they did at St. Thomas Aquinas, and start getting into some recruiting. So how was that for him? Because there's a lot of viral things that went on when he was at St. Thomas Aquinas, and him rallying up the locker room, being in a leadership role, him getting extra passionate. So how was it when he got home, and how was he doing that whole state championship run at St. Thomas Aquinas?
At home, go dump the garbage. That's all I can tell you. He was regular Sam at home. But it was interesting. Even though, you know, I have mixed feelings about St. Thomas and how they handle things on the backside, as far as continuing to catapult him as a player, they were great to him in that aspect. But I'm going to tell you something that really blew my mind that entails Jordan, who you just had the conversation with. When Sam and O's made the transfer to St. Thomas, Sam's junior year, Jordan's senior year, you know, Max Prep put out the pictures at the beginning of the year. Sam and O's didn't even know about those pictures. Now you're talking about Sam Bruce, number 6 receiver in the country, and Jordan Scarlett, about the same thing as far as a running back. How could you release Max Prep pictures, which are supposed to be your stars for the year? And I'm not taking anything away from those guys. Those guys were stars. They really were. But how could you not fuse at least Jordan into it? I was more hurt for Jordan than I was for Sam, because this was his senior year. And Jordan and those decided, I think they kind of let Sam decide where he wanted to go. And Jordan and Boyce, which were his 2 best friends, say, hey, you got to do 2 years, we got to do 1. So wherever you want to go, we going with you. And Rashad Kazi. But I was more hurt for Jordan and Boyce, with those boys with the stats that they had padded up, that St. Thomas would take those, this is the core of our team, without at least the seniors. So again, like I said, St. Thomas, the waters were a little muddy when he got there, and the slope just got slippery, more slippery as we stayed there. But again, like I said, my hat is off to them, because I know him being at a powerhouse like St. Thomas just kind of catapulted his star even that much more. So going into his junior year, actually it was the end of his sophomore year, about January, February, I got a phone call from the same Coach Smith, hey, I need to see you tomorrow morning in my office. It's Friday at 5 o'clock. What you need to see me tomorrow morning for? So right away, I go into mean mommy mode. I bust in Sam's room. What did you do? Mom, I ain't do nothing. What you talking about? I said, Sam, Bruce, what did you do? Boss lady, because that's what he called me. I ain't do nothing. I said, okay. I said, you know, Coach Smith want to see us tomorrow morning? For what? So he as confused as I am. So we get to the school. I can't sleep that night. I'm like, what has this boy done? On a Saturday morning, this can't wait till Monday?
Right.
So I get to St. Thomas and I sit down across from Coach Smith. Sam sitting next to me. He hands me this paper. So I get the paper. I see the Nike swoosh on the top. And as I read, I relax. I said, okay. So what this paper says is that Sam has been chosen by Nike to be their muse his senior year. So that was the year right after Kyler Murray, after he broke all those records at A. Allen.
Mm-hmm.
And now, okay, I'm relaxed. I'm good. So I put the paper down. I'm like, now I want to know how. Tens of thousands of seniors going to be playing football next year. How he get, this bestowed upon him? So Coach Smith explained to me, it's a process. They have this scouting crew that get together and say, Sam's name just kept coming up, kept coming up, kept coming up. So finally, they said, pull this kid film from South Florida. Let me see what he looked like. And the guy who was part of the recruiting process said that the selection process said after the third clip, he was like, yep, that's it. Because they'd always featured the quarterback. So this year they want to do something a little different. Again, people say, well, the stars align. I say God. You say what you want to say. Sure. I say divine. God has taken care of Sam from the day Sam was born all the way through his life. And I think, again, this was a time that God had placed Sam in a place to say, I'm still with you, son. Just keep on keeping on. So I got the call from, we reached out to Nike. Yes, okay, he'll accept it, so on and so forth. So now we're getting ready to go into Sam's senior year. Finish up the junior year. Ran track with Jordan. They ran track because they couldn't do nothing else. They had nothing else to do. So Nike came down Sam's first day of school. That was the first day they were here to record him. And they followed him around school with the cameras and the this and the that. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, okay, that's just Sam being Sam. I'm a proud mom, not knowing mentally the toll that this is taking on him because it's putting so much pressure on him. So at home, he's just Sam. But when he goes out, he's Sam Bruce. And I was laughing at him because one day we were at a regular mall we go to in Fort Lauderdale, the Broward Mall. And I saw the girl with the phone standing behind the counter. And I said, Sam, that girl just take a picture of you? He said, I don't know. And Sam. So he walked over to her. He said, I got a question. Did you just take a picture of me? And she was like, no. He said, well, let me see your phone. And she started laughing. She said, yeah. She said, are you Sam Bruce? And I'm like, at that point, that was that Oprah aha moment. Like, this boy is so, and it's like my specials got higher and higher. Like every time I say, oh, he's special, it was down here.
Yeah,
then I say he's special and it moved here. And then I say special and it moved there. And I'm like, this kid is really special. So he went through that. One of the videos you're talking about that went viral, he was in the locker room. That was before they played Booker T. And Booker T was the one that stopped them from going to state championship his sophomore year at U School. Last year he was there because he'd had a state championship every year except for Booker T stopped him. So he had this thing built up in him for a year and a half. And the fact that Booker T came into St. Thomas, they 41-0, the last 4 seasons, they beat the brakes off everybody. He said he was still talking. He said, he just sat down and he wore that U School freshman ring around his neck. That was the perfect season. And he said he just kept looking at that ring. And he said he had to let his team know Coach Harry had something called Keys to Victory that they did before every game. And he said he had already spoken. The Nike crew was getting ready to go out on the field to record the game. And he said something just rose up in him and he felt like he needed to rally his team and get them to understand how he felt. And so that was one of the videos that went viral of him saying, how you were there, you were there, you were there, that was that video.
Yeah.
But Sam has been passionate about football since he was this big. That same passion just continued to matriculate as he got older. So we got through the year, Nike's there. They were their first day of school. They were their first game. They came back when they went to the state championship. So they were there a few times. They came to the house one time and did an interview with him. So they probably filmed him about 5 times. Unfortunately, the situation happened with the gun where he got into an altercation with a young man, of course, about a woman. And he took a picture of himself with the gun and sent it to the boy. The boy got nervous, took it to his parents. They went to the police. Ultimately, no charges was filed. Sam was 18. He didn't have a record, so he had a right to bear arms. It wasn't like he put the gun in the boy's face or anything. But that's what started his demise. That one not smart decision. February 11th, 2016. That's what started the thing to slide. So Nike reached out and they were like, listen, that, we got phenomenal film. Even the guy who recorded it said, this is the best film I've ever recorded. Both amateur or professional. He said, I just never seen anybody that's so great on camera like he was. Oh, and they did him also out when he was out in the opening. And they said they weren't gonna do it that year. They didn't line up with what Nike wanted to put out there. So unfortunately, it was never released. Nike didn't have a Muse that year. They just scrapped it. And from the situation with the gun, it just went downhill from there. And let me back up 1 second, because after the end of his junior year, we had decided that Sam was going to Flanagan. Nobody knew that. He was going to play for Coach Bush, going out there with Boosie and Bush, because I didn't like St. Thomas at all. And the only thing that helped Sam stay at St. Thomas when we got the news that Coach Harriet was coming back. And I thought it was so befitting. The man that started your high school career is the man that should finish it. Sam was supposed to participate in the Army All-American game. Sam had been groomed for that game since he was a 8th grader as a youth All-American. Steve Quinn and I still talk to this day. And I asked Coach Harriet one thing. Again, this was the St. Thomas, the politics that went on at St. Thomas. I know certain coaches are invited to certain games because they can get certain players to come. And they knew that Sam was going to the Army All-American game. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but the next thing I knew, Sam was going to the Under Armour game in Orlando. But you have been, and I'm a person that I'm big on being loyal. I'm loyal to those that's loyal to me. And it broke my heart to have to call Steve Quinn and say, hey, Sam's going to the Under Armour All-American game and not coming to Texas. Because that man had been grooming Sam for 4 years to do that. And I have to say, all honesty, I have no invoices and receipts for this one, but I'm sure Coach Harriet had a lot to do with that. And I talked to Coach Harriet and I said, please do not bother Sam. He committed to this game a year and a half ago. I know you go to the Under Armour game. Again, just like from Heritage to St. Thomas, from the Army game. Yeah. So that was kind of tough for me as a parent, because this man been following you for 4 years and been loyal to you. Like, invite Sam out to his camps, different camps that he did when he was here. So that was kind of hard for me as a parent. But again, I didn't lift one weight. I didn't run one route. As much as I hated to let him make that decision, I had to back off and let him do what he needed to do.
Eventually, you gotta become a man.
Exactly.
When the gun incident happened, what is, like, you guys' conversation? Like, what is the household? I don't have to come home to a mad black woman before, and it ain't easy coming home to your mom after making those type of decisions. So, like, what is it like? What is y'all conversation like at that point?
I got a phone call from Coach Harriet that Sunday night. It happened Sunday. It was the Sunday before President's Day. A mere 8-9 days after he signed his letter of intent to go to University of Miami. Of course, the house is abuzz because, like I said, I'm a UM fan, I'm a Dolphin fan, I'm a Heat fan, I'm home team. And I got a call about 11 o'clock from Coach Harriet, and he said, hey, Tracy, we got a problem. I'm like, what did Sam do now? Because I'm like, And so he told me what happened, and I was like, okay. My first thing was get him out of St. Thomas, because he had signed his letter of intent to Miami. If St. Thomas suspended him, expelled him, that's down the drain. So now I'm in mommy mode. So I don't even have the energy to be mad right now. I got to try to save, what's going on here. So when he came home that Monday, because he stayed the night with his friend that Sunday night, because he knew not to come in my house. I'm like, Pop, what's going on with you, man? Why would you do this? Ma, you don't understand, da, da, da. He went through the whole spiel and one thing about Sam and I, we had a great open relationship, sometimes too open. I used to have to tell him, Sam, you ain't got to tell me that. You're telling me too much. Sam, don't tell your mama that kind of stuff, baby. And I was very disappointed, but I had to realize he's going from one phase to another. It was at this point that I started kind of realizing the pressure that he was really under. And a lot of pressure Sam was under, he put on himself. Yes, I want you to be successful. Yes, I want you to do what you got to do. I'm here to support you. But that was Sam. Sam was as great as Sam was because Sam was Sam's greatest critic.
But being the nephew of Isaac Bruce, you know, when we talk about politics and being able to like have that phone call, somebody kind of reach out and like, you know, like this is the pedigree that this kid come from. You know, I got his back. I got, you know, was that in consideration when it came to making that decision for him?
I'm going to answer this very slowly. And I'm sure I'm going to get some backlash from it, but it is what it is. Sam really didn't have a relationship with Isaac. First time I've ever said it publicly. He didn't. If Sam talked to Isaac 15 times in his life, my name ain't Tracey Wilkerson. And I don't mean my name is not Tracey Wilkerson, my name ain't. He just didn't have a relationship with him. And that's one of those things that still baffle me to this day. This kid playing on such a high level, walking in your footsteps, literally.
Yeah.
And y'all really don't have a relationship. And I petitioned God about it for a while. I'm like, God, I don't understand this. And I was walking from my kitchen to my room one day. And God said, I did this. I'm like, but why? This made my life real hard. It could have been real simple if he'd have just, you know, a little bit more. And he said, I'm doing Sam just like I did Moses. I told Moses, go to Pharaoh 10 times. And Pharaoh kept saying no. I did that because I want to get the glory. So when God told me that was my answer too. I said, I walked my behind across the room with that glass of water and sat down.
That's fire.
It wasn't for Isaac to get, this is Sam Bruce's nephew, or this is Sam Bruce's uncle, this is Isaac Bruce's nephew. It was about God. And Sam's life has always been about God from the word go. That's all I can tell you about that.
Man, that was amazing. I ain't gonna even hold you. That was beautiful.
I can't make up this kind of stuff. But God literally like snatched me up. Don't tell me who to do what. I want to get the glory out of this. It's not nothing that Isaac did wrong, but it's about me. That's the same thing with Moses and Pharaoh.
Yeah.
Pharaoh could have said yes the first time, and them folks could have went on about their business.
Did the lack of a relationship with Isaac Bruce give him like an edge and a chip on his shoulder?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a double-edged sword. It was a blessing and a curse. Yeah, it did. It did.
I remember Sam speaking about that when he got cast in the Kurt Warner movie. I remember him talking about it in our group chat about how like he thought that it was crazy that they cast him in this movie and he was excited to do it, but he's like, I'm gonna do it better than my uncle. Like when I step into this movie and I'm running these routes, like I'm gonna do it better. Like so I think it definitely did,
definitely was a blessing and a curse. And again, that's another God thing. What is the odds that this kid get cast in a movie that his uncle was part of the baddest show on turf? I mean, when you talked about the Rams, Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Oz Akeem, Torrey Holt, Marshall Faulk, like, come on, man. You couldn't talk about that. And just, again, that was another God thing. It was so many, once you read the book, you'll understand. It's so many things in Sam's life that I know that God orchestrated, without a shadow of a doubt. From me conceiving him, to me having him, to every day he walked through life. Even his not smart decisions. And if you notice, I don't say bad decisions. They were not smart.
I mean, even I know you like to use the word transition. Like, I remember when we found out, Brandon and he had just dropped me off at the airport. Like, he had just dropped me off at Orlando airport, and it was draft day. And I was going to the draft because I work the draft every year. And I got a text message while I was at the airport, and it was like, damn, Sam. I'm sitting there, I'm like, damn, Sam. Brandon and I live together. So I'm like, what? I call Brandon, like, that is probably one of the few sounds in my life that I will like never unhear. Like, I will never unhear Brandon's like cries, like screams. Like, I don't even know really what to call it.
You can't put them in a category.
You can't even, And for it to be on draft day, like, and we're hearing about this on draft day, and I'm literally at the airport, and I went straight to the airport bar, and I'm looking up at the television, and like Michael Irvin was like
Mhm.
I don't care what we got going on about the first round. Like, I don't care what. Stop the show. Like, Sam Bruce, stop the show. Like, I don't care. Like, and I talk about that, and I will talk about that every single draft for the rest of my life, because like, when you talk about Sam being special, like, what are the chances? Like, and that really could have been his draft if he wanted it to be.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, you look at that and you're like,
And a lot of people didn't realize that that was the first day of the NFL draft that he passed. His transition was that morning, 11:10. And something Sam and I always did from when he was probably in about the 6th grade is our thing was, and Jordan and Boyce did it in high school with us. We watched the first 2 nights of the draft together. And as he got older, you know, the boys would come over, we order pizza and wings, and that was our thing. And the one year that we were not together when he was in school in Mississippi, we were on the phone the whole 3.5 hours the first night of the draft. Sam, you see who Chicago got? Who you think this team gonna get? Like, that was our thing. So again, I have to say, every single breath that Sam took, God was in. It was crazy. But like you said, the night that I got the phone call, you know, we dealt with the situation, and at the time, my boyfriend was very good friends with an attorney. He reached out to him, and when Frank looked into it, he was like, no, he gonna be okay. It's fine. You know, he's da-da-da-da, all is well. And we went down that, backing up from Drea, we went down that end of that week. Sam called Coach Rich, because remember, that was the changing of the guards.
Right.
From Al Golden to I loved Al Golden. I don't care what nobody say.
yeah.
That was crazy,
He wasn't
though.
fired to Nafrio.
Everybody
No, he wasn't
says
fired to
that.
Nafrio, but that was my dude. I love
She
Al
got Golden.
Golden.
Yeah, she had
Everyone
fire.
I
loves
love Al
Golden.
Golden. He
That was
wouldn't get
crazy.
rid of his shirt. God damn
Nah,
it.
she really knows ball. She really knows
Football
ball.
fanatic.
Yeah,
He had to
But
do one thing. He wouldn't do it.
he wouldn't do it. But again,
What was his sales pitch when he walked in your house that summer with that
Who?
big ass suit on?
Who?
Al go. Al go.
Al never came to my house. Remember, that's when they lost the game to Clemson. 58 the
Worst
nut.
loss in
Yep.
school
Crazy.
history.
And we say Sam looked at you like, dog, this is what we signed up for. This is what we gonna do. But you know, he reached out to Sam. He said, hey, listen, this is what I want you to do. You be the man. You reach out to Mark Richt, because, like I said, we had just done our series of doing our visits. And let me say this, I loved Ohio State. Ohio State program, phenomenal. But I felt like Sam getting a whole lot of trouble in Ohio. I felt like they would let Sam do whatever Sam wanted to do in Ohio. That made my nerves bad. And I loved Florida. I looked, at Florida, because again, like I said, I'm a football mom, so I'm looking at this stuff from every angle. Sam
I
just
was
looking
recruiting him on Twitter.
at you putting on Twitter.
I was recruiting him on
And
Twitter.
he almost flipped to Florida. I'm telling you, he looked at Florida.
Ooh, thank God.
But his strong number 2 was South Carolina.
I didn't see that.
And he had Chris Lamons up there, which has stayed with me a while.
Yeah.
We were, again, so many of them lived with me at some point in my life. Zay Flowers' older brothers lived with me, Marquise and Jack, which are better athletes than Zay will ever be. They just got caught up in life and didn't make it. So, it was different guys that lived with me during a period of time. And Chris was just needed a break. And he stayed with us for a couple months. And so Chris was really recruiting him to South Carolina. But he ended up at UM because he came and he said to me, he said, Mom, I want to bring the U back. He said, the Super 16 is the class that's going to do it. And so, as far as where he went college, I let him totally make his own decision. And again, if you watch that interview with Kane, with Daryl, he told him, he said, if I had to do it all over again, with all the mistakes I made, I still go to University of Miami.
What was that freshman year like when he gets on campus? And
You
Mark
know,
Richt?
what he say? You was there. You
You
know.
there. Listen.
You were there. That's probably the hardest 3 months I ever had with Sam. Again, I know college recruiting is college recruiting. It is what it is. You're going to say what you need to say to the kids to get them to come, but don't flat out lie. Please, coaches, don't flat out lie. I'm sorry. Because we as parents are the ones that have to deal with it through our children. I remember we went in for the last day of the official visit that Sunday. We were actually last ones to go in and see Mark Richt. And we were sitting in his office overlooking the practice field. It was Mark Richt, myself, my sister, my nephew Johnny, who's a big UM fan, and Sam. And these kids, this number thing, they'll change schools by the number.
Oh, yeah, for
They
sure.
crazy about them numbers. And Sam had been 6 since university school, and 6 has always been a special number. I'm number 6 of 6 kids. My birthday's on the 6th. So 6 has always been, you know,
It's my
special.
favorite number.
Good.
I played 6 in high school.
See what I'm
Shout out to
talking
that,
about?
man.
See what I'm talking about? Know who else did? Sonaris Moss.
Yeah.
Santana was my boy, but his brother had my number. So yeah. So I remember him saying to Mark Richt, you know, Coach, I want to know about my number. Da 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 da. I'm asking academic stuff, this, that, and the other. He want to know about his number. So Coach Richt said, well, I have to get in touch with the uniform guy, equipment guy, and I'll let you know. So we talked to him for about another 45 minutes, half an hour. We walking down that hallway, the hall with the Hall of Fame, with everybody pitch on it. We got right to the end of the wall where you make that right to go out to the elevator. And I'm sorry, Coach Rich, it is what it is. I got invoices and receipts. And he said to Sam, Bruce, and Sam turned because the hallway long. Just talk to the uniform equipment guy. 6 it is next year. So now he's thrilled. I'm going to University of Miami. I'm going with my boys. Number 6, you know, it was you and Jack and Mullins. Like
Oh
he
my
going in
gosh,
with
Jack.
he going in, Cracker Jack. That was Sam calling. That was Sam calling. And he just smiled every time Sam said. Every time Sam said, he just smiled. And you know, he was thrilled. Remember that cry you was talking about with Brandon? The day that boy opened his locker with that big old 83.
Oh,
He
man.
called me crying like a baby. I'm talking about destroyed. I'm like, Sam, breathe. I can't get to Miami right now, so I just need you to breathe. We got to get through this bag. Then there was some other things, roommate situation. It was just, and Sam is like me. Sam will run through a wall for you as long as you're down with him. But as soon as you cross him, he's done. And I think mentally, that's what made him check out. Number, roommate, along with some other stuff, you know, coaches have to realize what they have in that, whatever that athlete has in that sport, that's all they have to hold on to. Now, Sam was blessed. Sam came from a decent home. We gave him pretty much everything he needed and everything he wanted. But some of these kids are coming from nothing, and this is all they have. Right. And when you flat out lie to them, you are shattering them because they trust you. They got you on a pedestal. You're a college coach. You can help them get to the next level. But that cry that Sam had when he called me with that big old 83 in his locker, I thought I literally was going to have to stop and go down to Coral Gables. He was that distraught. And people say, by the number? Yes.
There's no worse feeling than feeling finessed, especially as a young black kid. Like you lied to me and got me in a position now I have no choice.
Yeah.
Amon, what was it like? Because you were in that same locker room. So, like, what was it from your perspective being around Bruce at that time?
So I'm gonna start with the number thing. I remember I'll never forget it because I can hear him. Mm-hmm. He was mad because we came in the locker room and like we see the name tags on the thing and like I look in, I see like Jaquan, I think it was Jaquan Johnson, and then it gets higher and higher. Then I see like Daryl Langham, then I seen 82, and I'm like, y'all told me I was getting 4. Like,
so you went through the same thing.
Yeah, so I had shirts printed.
Y'all
we had shirts
people.
printed with the 4 on it.
Oh,
like
man.
for that was gonna be my number. So people say what they want. A number does mean a lot to athletes. Like it's your identity, it's your swag, it's everything. So to get there and I see an 82, I'm like, what? Like, I remember I called my dad. I was like,
right next to y'all were neighbors.
Man, he was right there. So I'm like, he walked to the locker room and he was just like, he grabbed like a towel or something. And I remember he just walked away. He didn't say much. He was just like,
he was calling me.
He was like, man,
he
just
left
me. And I ain't seen him since. Like, well, from that day. But then we go through practice meetings and stuff, and I can tell now that you're kind of saying, like, I can sense now, like looking back, like I can see the pressure, everything, like the pressure, then the number change, and he didn't have that same like joy that you would see like on the videos and stuff from like high school, like the clips. He was just kind of going through like the motions more so. Then we get to meetings, and then they're getting into it a little bit with meetings, but now that you're saying I can tell there's a lot of built up frustration and just like lack of trust at that point. So it's like a lack of respect that he's given because he felt disrespected.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
I remember that day too because we had all went back to the dorms and like y'all had got all your like all y'all's gear that day. Yeah. And I was like, Sam, like you got your gear? And he was like, man, I don't want none of this shit. Like and it literally it all had 83. Like I still have like a Miami hat that Sam gave me that has the 83 on the inside. And he specifically was like, I ain't gonna wear it because it don't have 6 on it. And I was like,
Yeah.
I mean, I feel it though, but like, I mean, I know I talked about it a little bit earlier, but like, I personally feel like Miami did Sam dirty, like for real, for real. Even like when he got injured, I mean, we have the golf carts at school where the dorms were compared to the Hecht was far. Like it was far. And you can drive the basketball players around campus in the little go-karts or the whatever, the golf carts, like all day long, but you have injured athletes and you're giving them 5 a.m.s and making them walk on crutches from one side to the other side. Like, I'm confused. How are they supposed to get to class? How's their body supposed to recover? Like, how are they supposed to be on all of, like, recovering?
Be on
You
all
need
those
to
scenes.
rest and make all of those things happen. Like, that doesn't, and I spoke on it. Like, when I went to go, after Sam told me that I had to take that internship that I had in college, like, with the athletic department, like, I spoke on it to them. Like, when they would talk about Sam, they were like, oh, yeah, and he was trying to transfer to our rival. He was trying to transfer to Florida. I said, and he would have went off on y'all. He would have went off on y'all. If Miami would have let him transfer to Florida State, he would have snapped every single time because y'all tried him.
Held that man
Like-
back from his greatest, man.
Yeah.
Man.
See, on top of that, like
Like-
you also mentioned the change of the guard, change of regimes, right? How it impacted your career. You know, like going from like you were so Al Golden, and you say you loved Al Golden,
Loved
what he
him.
represented, and
Loved
then
him.
you know Mark Richt came in. You know that you
Different
don't fit your
situation.
system. It's a different system. From a parental standpoint, you know, your son's calling, like you know. And that's tough, you know, trying to coach them through that moment.
Right.
But how did those conversations go?
Okay, well, let me back up. I agree with you, Drea, but again, like within the book, I tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. This all started because Sam made a not smart decision with that gun. When we went and talked to Mark, Coach Rich, and Blake, I'm going to leave that right there. You
I'm with
already
on
know
this
why.
one. I'm with you on that one.
You know, he told Sam there would be some repercussions. And I have to defend Mark Rich on this point because he was coming off of sanctions. You all had just gotten out of that trouble, suspended from bowl games, the guys with the cars, shall I go home? Yeah. You know, Miami had its issues. So I understood at this point, I put myself in Mark Rich's shoes. So I understood. He told Sam, you know, there will be some punishment for this. You know, we'll figure it out, da-da-da-da. We didn't know it was going to be 3 games. My problem was, how do you suspend a child for 3 games for something that happened in high school, not on school campus, not at a school function, but makes no sense, but I'm a boss. So now I got to turn the coin and look at it from Mark Rich's place. Coming off sanctions, you know, I got to set the bar high. We're trying to clean up the program. So I kind of understood some type of punishment that I think that was a little stretch of, 3 games, 1 game, And like he said, you know, he got to the game. Y'all got to the week before the FAMU game, and he said the game was like 83. Ain't no number one. I don't want this big old number 83, and it's nowhere in the game plan.
They didn't tell him?
They told him that there would be a punishment, but he didn't know exactly what. So the week of the game is when he found out. But he knew that there was going to be some type of. But again, like I said, I looked at it from Mark Rich's standpoint. I'm a new coach here. But I told Sam before he took his happy behind the University of Miami, you got 51 D1 offers. Tell me if you see Georgia on there anywhere. That was when Rich was still at Georgia. Rich recruit from the Southeast area because this is where he's from. Rich like big, strappy receivers. He's not a slot receiver fan. Take your behind down to Coral Gables, shut the heck up, keep your head down and do what them people tell you to do. You are getting $250,000 of education for free because you can catch a piece of pigskin. Shut up. You're not going to like it. Sometimes, as your mom, sometimes I have to eat crow. Shut the heck
hold
up
that passion
and
back,
do.
though, man.
I get
There's
it, but
there's no way to bottle that, though. I understand what
I
you're
get
saying,
it.
but there's no way to bottle
I
what
get
he
it.
was, man.
I get it. And so now you understand why you saw the switch in personality in his drive. And then when the situation happened, the week he was supposed to come back, he went to play basketball at the practice, which he know he wasn't supposed to do. And that was the same leg he broke in high school. And a lot of people don't know that Sam broke that leg in high school in the state game and walked on it broke for 10 days. I realized it was broke because he walked in the house one night, the night before Christmas Eve, and I'm laying on the couch. And I'm like, boy, you still limping? Because usually we 2 ships passing in the night. I'm walking, he walking, or whatever. And I'm laying on the couch looking at him, and I'm like, Sam, you still limping? Oh, am I right, boss lady? Just still sore. Boy, that game was 10 days ago. You still sore? We got a problem. Let's go. We're going to the hospital. And then we found out that the leg was broken. So what happened was, I called who I affectionately call Sam's white mother from youth school, Debbie Gelman, and she and her husband, her family was out in Colorado, and she said, "Hey, I got a friend in Boca. I'm gonna give him a call." Da da da. New Year's Eve, they called from the office, say, "Hey, doctor came in and cast Sam leg. Get him here." Like those were the kind of people that we met at youth school, that stayed in Sam's life to the day he took his last breath. On her phone call, she in Colorado, because she called this man. This man stopped what he was doing Christmas Eve, came into the office to cast Sam leg. But what should have happened, because he had walked on it so long broken, they probably should have broken it and reset it. Because think about it, he healed in 6 weeks.
Yeah.
He already almost 2 weeks in, so a third of the way he's healed. So when he went to play basketball that night, he said he just pivoted and he felt it pop. He said he knew it was broke then. Then he lied. Let's just keep it real. Then he lied and said he broke it riding a bike.
I don't blame him.
And then the truth, I get it, but still, that all of this you got to think about. I look at this through Mark Richt's eyes. Okay, and then they still didn't kick him off the team after all of that. They sent him to the best. You know, he went down to University of Miami Hospital. They put a rod in it. You know, they did everything they needed to do. And I understand what you're saying, Dre, about the golf carts and getting here and getting there, but they were saying that that was Sam's responsibility to call and say, "Hey, okay, today is Monday. I got a class in this building. I got a class in that building. I got practice here." They were trying to make Sam responsible. Like, you know, we're going to help you, but you got to help us help you. And I think a lot of the places, Sam did drop the ball as well. So I can't put it all on University of Miami. And then, you know, sleep in practice, sleep in meetings, you know. Making it through practice, but sleeping.
We got some video.
But
right.
He was hurting. I ain't gonna lie. He was hurting. He was fighting.
Yeah.
Like he was trying to stay. But you know how it is. You injured, and then you're not practicing,
engaged.
so
Right.
it's just easy. You know, it's early in the morning. You probably up late at night. You're on medication, painkiller. You know, so it makes sense of why you
see
could
both sides of the coin.
You know, but. Yeah, from like as a coach, and obviously you like wake up and then they, you know, you can bump heads that way for sure. But
I mean, I looked at it from both sides. I looked at it from Coach Richt's side. I looked at it from Sam's side, and I'm a realist. You know, I'm gonna tell you the truth: the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
So I think it was a little of both. But you know, the straw that broke the camel's back was when he missed the bus to the Florida State game.
Oh my
I would
God.
And he
never
said
forget that.
his roommate usually wake him up. He said, "Crystal, you say, hey boy, I'm finna get out of here. Let's go." And he said this particular, and he was on pain medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So he just kind of slept through. When he woke up, the bus was already at the game.
Yeah.
And that was it. That was the straw that broke the camel's back. And I have to say that Coach Richt was, you know, I think he was fair. The fact that he called me, he said, "Hey, I'm gonna call you and tell you what's going on before this, you know, before we go public with this, so you can kind of brace yourself, but we're releasing Sam." And I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised at all, because Sam, again, had made a lot of not smart decisions. Sam had been given, I'm going to put it this way. Sam's, and it's probably going to sound harsh coming from his mother, but it's the truth. Sam's talent got him in the door that at that time, his character and integrity couldn't keep him in. Let's just keep it real. And I say at that time because at 22, 23, 24, I saw Sam make a total 180-degree turn.
Right.
So it grew him up. So that was heart-wrenching for me to watch him go through that. And I can't remember the reporter name, but one of the guys who I always talked to at University of Miami called me the day Sam got released. And I said, "I don't want to talk right now. I'll call you back." And I called him back a couple more days. "Yeah, God, you ain't the only one I do that. I do that to everybody. I don't want to talk, I ain't talking." And I called him back and we had a very candid conversation. And he was like, "You know what? This is probably one of the most interesting parent interviews I've ever done." I said, "Yeah, because you thought you was going to get angry black mom, didn't you?" No, a lot of this stuff was on Sam. And I understand why Coach Richt did what he had to do.
I remember the day of the Florida State game. Like, a lot of the times, like, if it aligned with my schedule for me to, like, drive, because, like, you know, like, freshmen can't have cars on campus at Miami, but, like, I was technically one class, like, older than y'all. So, like, my sophomore year, I still had my car, and, like, I had, I don't know, finessed it somehow to, like, be a commuter student so I could have my car on campus. So people used to take my car a lot. So I used to drive, like, to the athletic dorms to help Sam get over to the Hex. Like, if it aligned with my schedule, or I could drop him off at certain classes, like when he was hurt. And even like on game days, like dropping him off at the bus, like whatever. And I remember Florida State Day, I literally, like, that 2X exit, like when you get off to Hard Rock Stadium, like I'm literally driving that. Sam calls me. I had talked to him earlier in that day and I was like, "Are you sure?" Like, it's Florida State game. I'm tailgating. I have family in town. I'm like, are you sure you don't want me to take you to the facilities like early so that you don't miss the bus? He's like, nah, Chris got me. Like, I'm good. Like, it's good. Like, whatever. I'm literally getting off the 2X exit, pulling
When he
in, and he
you.
calls me, and he's like, Drea, where you at? I was like, the stadium. Where are you at? Aren't you supposed to be on the bus? He's like, bro, Chris didn't wake me up. I don't know where he at. My alarm didn't go off. I'm not even dressed right now. Like, there's no way I'm making it over there. And I was like, well, you have to call them. Like, say something. Like, I don't even like. Even if I turn around right now, I will not. You're not gonna make it. Like, you're not making it. Like, I will turn around right now. You can ride back to the stadium with me, but
it's still gonna be too late.
Yeah, they're about to run out the tunnel. I mean, we got like, I don't know what to tell you. Like, they're about to do cane walk. Like, yeah.
And I was sitting there and I'm like, okay, where is Sam? I see all the other guys come through on crutches. I'm like, okay, where is this boy? And he didn't even call me and tell me what happened. I found out the next day. I found out Sunday.
But I want to say, like, that level of accountability, you don't see that a lot, from parents in your position. A lot of times you don't we don't when our kids make those mistakes in those big moments, you don't say, you know what, Sam, or you know what, Trey, Corey, Amon, Drea, you was wrong in the public eye. For you to be able to say, like, no, like, he was wrong, and you can see both sides of the coin, and you can hold him accountable. I think that's huge. That's big of you. You have your book, and you have a faith-based platform, The Journey. I want to go back and read your book. I haven't got the opportunity yet. How did you get to the point where you are now? How do you process everything? Like when you hear his name and everything that's going on, and you still able to be strong, resilient. Black people, we have a different type of faith and relationship with God. We would go in church and we sit there all day. I heard you mention, like, when his transition happened, when he went to when his calling came, the first thing that you wanted to do was make sure that you go get therapy. Like, how did you, like, what got you to that point? Like, you know what, I want to make sure that I go get therapy and get to a spot where I'm strong enough and be able to, like, handle those questions and, like, move on with life.
Not just the thermometer period in my family. I'm the thermostat. And I knew that if I fell apart, it was going to be a mess. I knew if I could stand firm, everybody around me was going to be all right. They kind of feed off me. Yes, I'm the baby, but I was also the shot caller, what I didn't tell you. So in leading up to the situation with Sam, a lot of people don't know. Of course, Sam went through, when he left for University of Miami, the recruiting process started all over again. He ended up going to a JUCO in Mississippi, Wiggins, Mississippi Gulf Coast. He stayed there for a full year. Leading into the football season, he went there in January. Leading into the football season, they did the physical and discovered that a second time the leg didn't heal right. So they had to go back in, break his leg, do the surgery, second surgery, third broken leg. So that's when he discovered he was not going to play football that fall. Finish out the fall. Going into the spring, there was a changing of the guards again, another coach's change. The new coach didn't have Sam in his playbook or whatever he was going to do. So Sam came home. And I asked him, I said, what do you want to do? He said, I still want to play football. I said, okay, let's go. So we got a phone call from a coach, put it out there that he was back out again. Coach over at Southeastern called and was interested in Sam. They were building their program. Reached out to Mississippi Gulf Coast, need his transcripts, got everything we needed from Miami, paid for all them goddamn keys that he lost. This boy must have lost like 8 keys in 6 months at UM. You gonna clean your face with them before they give you anything. So we got his stuff from Miami. Mississippi Gulf Coast reached out to him, he's trans if you needed it. Got a phone call. We can't release his transcript. Why? It's a financial hold. So I'm thinking, he lost some keys again, $300-400. The lady called me back and said, we need $9,000. For what? Obviously, when he broke his leg, they internally, rescinded his scholarship. So the last semester he was there, I had to pay for it. And even though it was a junior college, I had to pay 3 times the amount because of out-of-state
Out-of-state.
fees.
Mhm.
So, okay. God provided. I ain't have to get it from nobody. He gave me almost to the penny what I needed. And it was so funny because when I wired them people that money, I sat on them steps outside of TD Bank. I was about to faint to see these people $9,000 for a piece of paper, because literally that's what it was. And so we got past that. The movie came about. You know, he did the thing with the indoor football league, which is what led. A lot of people don't know that's what led to him having that part in the movie, because he played for team in Texas, Frisco Fighters.
Yep, and
They reached out to the coach, and that's how he got that part in the movie. Of course, was ironic, was God. And then we went through the pandemic. The first day that he was supposed to play the first game, the first season he was there, was the day they declared the pandemic, which was March 11th, 2020, when they declared the pandemic. So we were out there to see his first game. We left here, they were talking about the pandemic. By the time we landed in Texas, they were shutting everything down. I'm like, how long were we in the air? Like, we were only in the air for 2 hours and the whole world shut down. They stopped March Madness, they just stopped everything. So that stopped the season that he was supposed to play the first season. And he came back home, he went to work. Second season, they called him. And then before the season started was when he went out for 6 weeks in Oklahoma and did the movie. Came back home. During the pandemic is when God truly prepared me for Sam's transition. At the time, I owned preschools. I owned and operated 2 preschools and a private school. And I'm like, okay, God, what are we doing about this school thing when I get home? And I'm, in Texas, relaxing and just kind of listening for God. And he gave me strict instructions when I got back. I had a partner. He was like, oh, we gonna close the school. I said, no, we're not. That ain't what God told me. Y'all stay home if y'all want to. I'm going to work. And I worked the whole pandemic by myself for about 5 months. 4 months I worked by myself. Opened the school, closed the school. The school grew by 300% during the pandemic because we were the only preschool and private school open in Pompano. So parents that had to go to work had to bring their kids to us and their money. We appreciated it. So during the pandemic, though, I did a lot of fasting and a lot of praying, and I didn't know why. And I'm like, God, just got off a fast. And I know when it's time to fast. And I'm like, okay, here I go again. A lot of studying the word. A pastor that I will forever be grateful, who Sam introduced me to. My daughter sent a video to Sam about him teaching about daddy issues, because Sam and his dad didn't have the best relationship. They weren't really close. And he kept saying, and Michael Todd said, and Michael Todd, I'm like, Sam, where you get this? You keep talking about Michael Todd. Who is Michael Todd? Some video, Chris has hit me, old crazy man. He is hilarious, man. He's a young guy, but he my kind of guy. I can understand. He just talk in layman terms. So this was 2019, right before the pandemic happened. So I started kind of listening to this guy. I was like, yeah, I like this young guy from Oklahoma, somewhere out here. I don't know where he is, but I like him. During the pandemic, we were home. We couldn't go nowhere, couldn't do nothing. So again, like I said, I did a lot of fasting and praying. And Michael Todd taught a series called Anchored. And in Anchored, he talked about, regardless of what's going on in your life, you stay anchored to God. This way, you stay anchored to God. That way, up, down, it doesn't matter. Stay anchored to God. So I'm like, okay, I always knew that, but just the way he taught it. And when he teaches, he doesn't just teach one week and he's done. Sometimes his stuff, like I'm listening to something now, he on week 8. Sometimes he'll teach something for 20 weeks because he teaches it from so many different aspects to make sure that you got it. So Anchor was actually his word for his church for 2020. And God gave him that word in August 2019 before we knew the pandemic was going to happen. I said, okay, this man talking to God for real. I'm going to hang on to him. So in that Anchor series, it just talked about staying anchored to God. And then coming out of the pandemic, he taught a series called Secure the Bag. We think secure the bag. First thing we think about is money. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about, regardless to what it is, house, car, land, wife, children, it all belongs to God. We're just a steward over it. God just allows us to have these things. So one day I was listening to Secure the Bag and had just got through with my prayer time. And God was like, this had to be 21, maybe about the summer of 2021. God said, you got to get Sam back to me. Now I'm watching Sam go through all this turmoil. Every time he almost get to his dream, something happens and it's pulled away. He almost can reach it and something happened. University of Miami, Southeastern, the Arena League, just every time it gets right in his grasp, something happens. So I'm like, okay, I need to really pay attention to what's going on here. And when God said, you got to turn Sam loose. You got to give him back to me. I said, okay, God, he going through so much. I gave him to you when he was born, but I'm gonna give him to you and get you for real. And I called my friend girl Lisa. I was like, can you believe God told me give Sam back to him? I said, I've been gave Sam back to God, but okay, I'm gonna release him totally and let God do his thing. I did not know that at that time God was preparing me for what I was gonna have to deal with Sam. So while he was waiting to, figure out what he was gonna do, he was still training, go back into football, so on and so forth. He went to work for a pest control company. True Sam Bruce fashion. Sam went from a casual to a supervisor with his own truck and own crew in about 8 months. Your mama's child. And his dad too. And one thing I have to say about his dad, he's a hard worker just like I am. He gonna go get it. So as far as work ethic, he got great genes from both sides. So I said, so Sam, talk to me. What's your plan? Well, Mom, I'm gonna work this until, I can get me a tryout, XFL. That's when XFL was really rising. And I said, okay, no problem. A lot of people don't know that Sam initially got sick in December of 2021. Again, God. I was in the gym one day and I stepped off the treadmill and I heard Sam's name. And Sam. So I went on, got the stuff to clean off the machine. I was getting ready to walk out the gym. I heard it again. So, okay, that ain't in my head. That's God. And I called Sam. Young man answered the phone, said, he's under the wheel. I said, okay, tell him call me back. When he was driving, usually he'd have the guy answer the phone, tell me what's with him. I said, okay, tell him call me back. About 20 minutes later, I got a phone call from Sam's best friend. Auntie, did Sam Job call you? I said, no. He said, Sam just had a seizure at work. I said, a seizure at work? Sam don't have seizures. He said, well, he had a seizure at work. They're taking him to the hospital, blah, blah, blah. So while I'm talking to him, somebody calls from Sam Job. Hey, we were in Lantana. Sam had a seizure. They took him to the hospital, da-da-da. Where is he? JFK. I get on 95 and go north. I ain't calling nobody. But I was so calm. It was just like, he's sick. He'll be okay. I just had a peace. And when I got to the hospital, I told him I was looking for my son. He was brought in by ambulance. No Sam Bruce. Look, these people say he was at JFK. Y'all better find my baby. They call emergency. They checked upstairs and da-da-da-da. No Sam Bruce. So a gentleman, again, God, that worked security said there's a JFK north, about 15 minutes north of here. So maybe that's because I just went to the first JFK my GPS took me to. So I called and the lady answered the phone, nurse answered the phone, and I told her who I was. She said, oh my God, we've been looking for you. We had no emergency contact. We had nothing. So I said, okay. She said, hold on, the doctor wants to talk to you. Okay. So I'm walking out the hospital. Now I'm going to my car. So I said, hey, we told him what happened. He said, well, we had to intubate him. He's on life support. Sam left home healthy this morning. What do you mean life support? He said, just get here. Be safe, but get here. So I got back on the I about 15 minutes north. I got there. Nurse was waiting for me at the door when I walked in the hospital. When she took me in, it was like like Drea said, that voice of Brandon's, I never forget the scene. When I walked in that room that Sam was in, it was like a scene from ER. It was papers all over the floor, and about 7 or 8 nurses and doctors in there working on him. He intubated, got this tube in his mouth, clothes on the floor cut off. I'm like, what happened? So a nurse set a chair outside the room. She said, let the doctors finish what they're doing, give them a few minutes. So I could see everything that was going on in the room, but I, staying out the way. And finally the doctor came to me. He said, your son is very ill. And I said, he left home this morning healthy. That's what I kept saying. But I had such a peace. And he said he had 6 seizures. And I'm like, 6 seizures? I said, he's never had a seizure in his life. He said, well, we know it's not drugs because we have a cocktail we give them when they come in. If it's drugs, it'll snap them straight out of it. And his body didn't respond. And I said, okay. He said, by any chance, could he have gotten into any kind of poison? I said, he worked for a pest control company. He said, that's it, called poison control. And when they checked Sam's vitals, Sam had what's called Vicane, which is what they spray in your house when they tenant, everywhere in his body. So what happened was that's what caused the seizures. But because Sam was in medical care, every time he had a seizure, they knew what to do to fix it. And then finally he had that last one and that was it. So he stayed on life support for 3 days. And when I talked to a young man who answered the phone, he told me, he said, when you called, Sam was under the wheel, driving 60 miles an hour down 95, having that first seizure. That's why he told me he was under the wheel. And he said, then this boy go to sleep. Sam said, this boy go to sleep every time they in the truck. This particular day, God had him walk. And he pushed Sam against the door and got in the driver's seat and slowed the truck down. Because they both would have been dead then. And so he stayed in the hospital for about 24 days. He stayed up in Palm Beach for, I think, about 10, 11 days. So once they got him stable, he came out. Came out of the coma on the 30th, December 30th, 2021. And the nurse called me. Best phone call I ever got in my life. You want to hear your baby's voice? I said, yes, ma'am. And he's so voice with that deep voice he had, he ain't had that. Mom, what happened? So I told him what happened. He said, my body hurt. Feel like I've been in an accident. And so I said, no, that's just from the seizure. I said, you'll be okay. You're fine. So they kept him for another day in ICU just to make sure he was good. They put him in a regular room, December 31st. And they called me about 3 o'clock and say, hey, we're putting him to a regular room. You can come and see him. Because of COVID protocol, I couldn't see him while he was in ICU. So I hadn't seen him since the day I saw him in the emergency room that Monday. So I went up that Friday. It was New Year's Eve. He was in dialysis because he had so many seizures so fast, it caused his kidneys to fail. So he was in dialysis. He came out, and I remember when they pushed him back around that corner, and he looked at me, and the tears just ran. I said, boy, you tried to get out the back door on me, huh? And he started smiling. And that night, the nurses let me stay with him. We actually brought the new year in together, and that's the first time we had done that in about probably 7 or 8 years, if not more. And he did about 10 more days up there, and when he got strong enough, we moved him to the hospital in Fort Lauderdale. And that was 4 months before the actual transition. Got out of the hospital, he was on dialysis for about a month. And the doctor told me, he said, he's a healthy young man, his body will right itself. And sure enough, a month later, they took him off dialysis. She released him to start working out. He was like, all right, Ma, I'm finna do this thing now. I done almost left here. I'm gonna make you proud, boss lady. I got you. And I'm like, all right, Pop, do your thing, because that's what I call him, Pop. And I told him, I said, Sam, you have about $10,000 saved. You don't have any bills. He was living with my sister. I put him out with me. He'd keep a junkie room. You can't have no junkie room. He told me, that's my room. Yeah, but your room in my house. You got to go. So he went over there and stayed with his auntie. And I told him, I said, Sam, don't go back to that job. Something about that stuff, people work with it for years, and they don't have a problem. Something about you with that, it doesn't work. He never said yes. And I think about that. And he snuck his behind back to work. And I called him one day, and he said, oh, my bad, boss lady, I was on the roof. I said, on the roof? Sam, please tell me you ain't going back to that job. Man, my money was getting low. I had to go back to work, Mom. He's grown. What can I do? A year to the day that he went back to work was when he got sick again. And he went to get something to eat, and he was 2 minutes from home. And the guys say they saw him pull in the driveway at the parking lot at the store, and say he backed out real slow. And where he had the accident, the road kind of goes about 4 or 5 different ways. It's not just a straight cross and cross. And they said they saw him, because guys were standing out there, said they saw him roll up to the stop sign, and he didn't stop. He just kind of rolled through the stop sign, and the car just rested against the pole. They made it sound like he died in an accident, but I literally drove the car home from when I went to pick it up from the tow company. The light was bust, the hood was bent, the fender was bent. I have the car right now. So what happened was, again, I think because he already had that stuff in his system from the first situation, when he went back to work a month, it was back in his system again. And it caused him to have a series of seizures because he was in the car, windows up, doors locked, they couldn't get to him. And that was also during the time that there was a shortage of 911 operators. They called 911 3 times before they finally got somebody on the phone. So we're figuring from the time they made the first phone call to the time EMT got there was about 13, 14 minutes. And that was just too long with no oxygen to his brain. And I got the phone call from his boss. I was getting ready to leave work one night. And he said to me, he said, when the phone rang and I flipped it over and I had just thought about it, I ain't talked to Pop all day today. I call him when I get in the car and I'm wrapping up my computer. And when I flipped the phone over and I saw his boss name, I said, what's wrong with Sam? I knew it. And he said, Sam just had an accident. Mad mommy mode again. I'm on 50. This boy's steady tearing up cars. He tore up 3 cars. I ain't tell y'all that. He was like, no, he's sick. I said, okay, I'm on my way. So when he told me where he was, I said, well, I'm just coming out of Pompano. I'm about 20 minutes from there. I called my friend girl. She didn't answer the phone because she lived about maybe 5 minutes from there. And then I knew another friend of mine was at a place that we go and have wings on Wednesday night. So I called her. She's actually here with me today. And I say, Lex, go see about Sam. He got in an accident. He's here today. So she gets there. He's not where they told me he was. So I call the boss back on 3. I say, hey, we're in Washington Park. I can't find Sam. He said, no, Franklin Park. So by the time she got me on the phone, I'm getting off 95 on Sunrise. She's coming out of Washington Park. So we kind of meet up. I say, follow me. He's right down the street. So we went around the curve. And when I pulled up on that corner, the way that corner was blocked off, I knew it wasn't good. And I did not have that sense of peace that I had the first time. So I jumped out the car, I jumped out of my car, the car's against the pole. I told the police that was working on the car, I said, hey, where's the boy that belonged to this car? That's my son. He said, give me your name and number. He's at Broward General. I'll be there in a minute. Let me secure the car. We get over, about maybe 20 people standing outside that's already beat us there. We go past them. By that time, Brubby, my god brother, got there. The first friend I called me back. She came over. We sat there for about an hour and a half. Nobody saying nothing, just saying wait. So finally somebody came out and said, hey, go back to the family room. So we sitting in there. I'm walking the floor. I'm about to walk the hole in the floor. I'm looking for that piece I had the first time. I'm searching for it because I know if I get that, we good. Couldn't find it. And so doctor finally came out after about 2 hours. My other friend girl I called on play. She went out. She was like, hey, somebody got to tell us something. We've been here for 3 hours. What's going on? So the doctor came out and he was like, he's probably the sickest person in the hospital tonight. I said, okay. So he said, we're going to clean him up and you can go in and see. So my god brother and I walked in, and when I looked at him laying in that bed, I knew on the inside of me, wasn't going to make it this time. And at this point now I'm saying, all right, God, I need some strength and I need it now because this is not good. My daughter come in. Again, they can't move him to the floor, to the ICU till they do the COVID test. So she said, well, Ma, you go home and change because I'm coming from work. So I'll go home, put on some warm clothes. She come, Ma, get back fast. Say I'm just coded. So I go back to the hospital. I call my daughter in Atlanta. I say, hey, come home now. I don't know what's going on, but come home. And we sat there and I'm looking at his vitals, his heart rate, 22, 23 beats a minute. I mean, low. And she, the nurse, wonderful over at Broward General. She said, well, we give him a cocktail. It kind of bring everything back up. As soon as it wear off in 15 minutes, it goes back. So I said, okay, here's what it is. We're going to get through this. And my oldest daughter came in at about 2 o'clock. And we all just kind of looking at him in like disarray, like, this is not happening. God, I know you got me. He going to pull out of this. And I'm still inside of me, kind of searching for that peace, but I can't find it. So my oldest daughter get here. It's about 5. She said, Ma, you've been up for 24 hours. You go home and sleep a little bit. I'm like, I go home, but ain't going to be no sleeping. By now, people have heard what have happened. My phone start ringing about 6:30. So I'm like, hey, I can't tell you nothing because I don't know nothing. So I get up. I sit on the side of the bed. I'm talking to God. And I'm, nevertheless, God, not my will. Let your will be done. My daughter called me about 8:39. Ma, come back to the hospital. There's a doctor talking to me and I don't understand what he's saying. So I get back to the hospital. I send them home because she been up 24 hours after driving home from Orlando. And he said to me, he said, anybody you want to see him alive need to be here in an hour. At that time, his 3 best friends from over at Washington Park were already there, And I called my sister. She didn't answer. So I said, somebody need to go tell Lynn to get to the hospital. By the time we got in touch with her, he was already gone. But the doctor said that to me. He was still on life support. And I went over to his bed because I've always heard that their hearing is the last thing to lose. You hear people wake up out of comas 10 years and tell you everything you said. You done told them all your secrets and they tell you what you told them. So I sat down and I grabbed his hand and I said to him, I said, and you heard this on the interview. I said, Pop, I want you here with me. But if you feel like you gotta go, do what you gotta do. And I promise you, he squeezed my hand and took his last breath. And I yelled and I screamed and I hollered and it lasted about 2 minutes. And something grabbed me under both of my arms and stood me up on my feet and that peace came back. And so the family, of course, came in and, we went through what we had to go through. But I think the only reason I'm able to sit here and talk about it as candid as I am is because of God. The pandemic was the worst thing ever happened to the world. We had such a sense of uncertainty. And in the most difficult time in the world, God put me in a position to have peace, to watch my son transition out of here.
You have a quote on your page that says, "I'm not stuck unless I stop." What I love about what you're doing is that you carrying on his legacy by continuing to talk about his name. What does, as we get ready to close, what does Sam Bruce's legacy look like?
To continue to touch as many people as we can. And God promised me, he said, this was therapeutic for you. Yes, I went directly to therapy, but that's the best therapy I could have ever done. And it's some days I would write certain chapters and I would have to come away for weeks at a time, 2-3 weeks, didn't even look at it, couldn't even open it on my computer because it cut so deep. But Sam Bruce's legacy looks like to me, that book speaks to so many people. And that's why I know it's going to be a New York Times bestseller. I'm not even worried about it. I know what God promised me. It speaks to athletes. If you think you're the man, sit down and look at who really was the man and what happened to him. Maybe you need to navigate a little different. It teaches a parent, regardless of what's going on in your child's life, stay in touch. You gotta stay in touch. You gotta stay in touch with your child this way, and you better stay in touch with God that way. Because that's the only way, especially now that they've introduced NIL and money's a part of it. It speaks biblically, of course, because everything I say, is totally around God. So what Sam's legacy looked like through the journey to me is to touch as many people's lives as I can touch. I did not realize that little boy had touched so many lives till during the time of his transition. The phone calls, the text messages, the caliber of people that reached out to me. I had no idea they even knew who Lil Sam Bruce was. I knew Michael Irvin knew who he was because, of course, he went to St. Thomas with Mike Jr. and they developed a great friendship. But just people like Chad Thomas and Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, and just different people, the caliber of people that mentioned Sam. And it was just so ironic that almost a year to the day that he transitioned was when he did that interview with Kane Insider, when he talked to Daryl and kind of told you where he was now in life. And when you look back at what he was and what he had matriculated to, I know that God had done all he was supposed to do in Sam's life. So Sam's legacy looks like touching everybody that this book can touch. And it's not about selling books, it's about changing lives.
Tell us a little bit about the foundation you guys have around Sam Bruce's likeness and also the book.
We established a nonprofit, Slime. Y'all know that's his color. That's slime green. Slime Samborghini 6 is the nonprofit. And with it, there's several things under the umbrella. We have something called, which is the one that's the most closest to my heart because Sam went through it, it's called Six's Plan B. And what it is a program that we're developing for premier athletes right around sophomore, junior, and high school, when you kind of see them separate, to help them find something else that they can focus on outside of their sport of choice. Because we know that less than 1% of these guys, girls, whatever, their sport of choice come to fruition in their life. So let's get something else that you're as passionate about as you are about that sport. In case that sport doesn't turn out the way you want it to be, that you have something else to turn around and focus on. Because Sam had nothing else but football. Sam ate, slept, and breathed football. Of course, feeding the homeless. We have a homeless initiative where the first anniversary of his passing, actually that was his birthday, we went out and we fed about 140, 150 boxes we made for these people. We went to an area in Fort Lauderdale. So the homeless is also another thing that's under that umbrella. Educating parents financially. Conversation, again, you heard me say this, that we don't have, especially, I have to say it, y'all, in Black homes. We don't talk about having insurances in place. We don't talk about having an emergency fund. Like, it was hard for me to go through what I went through with Sam, but I just imagine me trying to go through it without insurance in place, without money in place, without being able to put him away the way I wanted to put him away. We don't like to have those conversations, but those are conversations that we need to have. Don't need to be a whole lot, but enough that you're not under pressure. Because so many parents we see spend all this money doing all this other stuff, but not educating their kids about money, not putting the cart before the horse, not putting things in order. So that's another thing about education, about just knowing how money works. Because unfortunately, a lot of kids from our area, you make $1, you spend $1.50. You're 50 cents short. You got more month left over than money. So that's another thing that's under the umbrella of the nonprofit.
We definitely finna tap in with you guys as nonprofit. Me and bro was talking. We got a big tailgate that we're doing this fall for the Miami, Florida game. And amongst like our leadership team with the network we had, we was trying to figure out charities to give back to. And there's a lot of big charities out there, big things. And we wanted to find something, an intimate situation that we know we can actually touch people. Mm-hmm. A lot of charities don't touch people. But definitely we're gonna get it. We'll speak with you behind the scenes. We definitely get proceeds from what we make at that tailgate to you guys' foundation, to give back in whatever way we can.
Thank you.
100%.
Thank you. Well, we've been able to be a blessing. I mean, from the word go, we went back to his Optimus League. We gave them $3,000 the first year to buy all their practice gear. We were blessed, and we've been able to buy 3 families' cars. We had some people that I knew that needed vehicles, so we've been able to come out the gate swinging. And I'm just looking forward to get bigger and better. I have her laughing. Lex sitting over there, one of my best friends, my sounding board. And I told her, I said, you're going to look up in 5 years and the Lamborghini Foundation going to be as big as the Boys and Girls Club. I got a huge vision for it.
100%. However we can help, we definitely finna help. You know what I'm saying? This guy's a legend. You know what I'm saying? Man, this is a special episode. Once again, our videographers, the place we in, everybody trying to tell us to wrap up and get up out of here. But this episode has been a blessing. Tell the people where they can find the foundation, social media, websites, whatever it may be.
Okay, the nonprofit is Slime Samborghini 6. The Sam's webpage is Samborghini 6, SAMBORGHINI, the number 6ix.org. And the easiest way to catch me, y'all, I know Instagram and Twitter. Find me on Facebook. That's the best way to catch me. And it's just my name, TRACYE WILKERSON. Just my name. That's it.
Another special episode of Flo Factory, Miss Tracy, the Lamborghini episode. We out of here.